back with another episode of Sessions with Mary Jane. I'm your host, Jordan Freed.
And I'm your other host, Reena Ezra. Unfortunately, Brendan, oh my God, I did that so many times. It makes you guys up. Brendan won't be able to join us this episode, but that's not a problem because we do have two awesome dudes joining us for this episode.
Oh my gosh. And it does take two awesome dudes to replace Brendan. And they are very magnificent. Give it up for cartoonists and art authors and filmmakers and actors. Like, I feel like there's a lot going on here. Ben Bartlett and Jeff Homan. Was that a good enough intro? Was that
yeah, I didn't hear nobody fucking clapping though. I'm out. I'm out of here.
So you guys are joining.
That was perfect.
You guys are joining us from Massachusetts?
Yes.
All right.
Where else would we be?
Are you guys
definitely not in New Jersey?
Hey.
Oh, okay. We like Jersey. It's New York.
Are you guys originally from from Massachusetts, and where in Massachusetts?
Go ahead, Jeff.
South of Boston. I'm in Halifax.
Okay.
Ben's in America's hometown, Plymouth.
Yeah, you know where the Pilgrims landed and took all the Indian shit?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Well, it's good that you guys have made it all the way here from Massachusetts to be with us today. I don't know if you guys know this, but anytime you are on an episode of Sessions with Mary Jane, we give you some kind of challenge. It may be a physical challenge. It may be an interdimensional challenge. It may be a mental challenge. It may be an intellectual challenge. It may be a metaphysical challenge. You know, we haven't really given anybody a metaphysical challenge yet, but I guess that would be something along the lines of, I don't know, maybe they would
we'd have to think of
come
that.
to us during the podcast and like suddenly appear with their particles. I don't really know what that would be.
That's right. I accept all challenges.
Your challenge tonight as two cartoonists making new stoner canon is you both are going to be challenged to come up with as many stoner characters from books that you guys can. And you guys could get 0. You guys could get 107,000, like a made up number. It doesn't really matter. It's just to keep us going in the background of our conversation.
Yeah, you can interrupt at any time.
Oh, okay. So you mean like Edgar Allan Poe, because he had to be a stoner.
Did you mean authors? You have to clarify.
It's going to be fictional characters. Yeah, I will clarify that. From fictional stoner characters from books.
Not TV shows.
No TV shows, just any books. It could be comic books. It could be graphic novels. Any literary stoner characters who are known to smoke weed or are very coded to smoke weed if they're not from a time where you could openly smoke weed in your literature. But literature has always kind of been subversive. Were you guys always into literature as kids?
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, I was an English major in college, so I've done a lot of reading. That's an interesting thing, though, because I'm going to have to say that probably 70% of all characters in most literature are based on some sort of stoner.
What are you trying to say? No, seriously, what are you trying to say?
Oh, yeah, you might have missed that, huh?
Yeah, I missed a little bit. For the people listening, I had to step away real quick. I forgot to leave money for my guy and he just texted me. So yeah, I'm back now. No, it's a stoner thing. I forgot.
Oh, no worries. I tried to stall long enough, but I was
a quick recap is just you're going to verse each other. It's just a challenge for you guys to do in the background of the podcast, and you'll name as many stoner fictional characters from literary works, as many as you can. You interrupt at any time. It's something we do. Everybody gets a different challenge who's been on our show. Every episode's been different. So whatever number you get, you're a winner. Doesn't matter.
You're all special in your own ways.
Right. So any type of oh wow. So I'm gonna say Jeff, because he's in a comic book, you know. Me, I'm in a comic book. Right. How far did you get? Or didn't you go yet?
We distracted him. We wanted to know.
Yes.
So I'm winning 2-0.
We wanted to know like what your literary beginnings were. Jeff said that he was an English major. What was your alma mater, Jeff? And then we could hear a little bit from Ben, where he's from.
What was my alma mater?
Yeah, where'd you go to school?
I went to school at UMass Amherst.
Nice.
I did not finish because I went to UMass Amherst. You know, you can't take 50,000 18 to 22-year-olds and in 3 square miles, expect it not to be hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it was, it was a very interesting thing. What I'm most proud of coming out of that school, believe it or not, was the paper that I had to write that was 10 pages long on why a dog has a tail. And final conclusion was to cover its asshole.
Wow. I was gonna say that the most grateful thing coming out of that college is that you were still fucking alive.
Right?
I'm just saying, man. UMass Amherst is probably the biggest party school in the country.
Oh, really?
One of, yep.
One of,
oh, yeah.
Do you guys have any stories from
I didn't go. I got out of high school and went right to work for that guy down there in his construction company.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I will say that we funded our parties by literally moving 5 pounds of weed a week.
Gosh. Oh my god. Wait, what is each of your first stoner stories? Your first time smoking weed or eating it?
Go ahead, Ben.
I'm not going to say my first time smoking weed, but one of the first times I was with a buddy of mine. We were sitting on top of my shed smoking a joint. And this is actually how I met Jeff. So we were up there blazing a joint, and I see these headlights come down the driveway next door to the back side of the house. And we're sitting there getting high and look over, and this guy jumps out, you know, little bit longer hair, almost a mullet going on. And he opens the back of his truck up, and he's wrestling this fucking dresser by himself. Like this, it wasn't a little dresser. He was wrestling like a full-size dresser out of the back of the truck. We're sitting there smoking, and my buddy looks at me and goes, "Should we give him a hand?" I said, "Yeah, when we're done with this." You know, so we watched him for a few minutes wrestle the dresser out, and I haul it over off the roof. It was dark out, so I'm like, "Hey, you want a hand?" I just see this guy turn around. He's looking like for a squirrel and shit. You know, it was, you know, but that was one of my first stoner stories.
Wow.
Nice.
I don't believe you smoked at that point, did you?
No, I had taken a hiatus at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're the asshole who got me back into the shit, actually. Now that I think about it, you motherfucker. So,
yeah, but look at where you are now, dude. You're being interviewed. We're writing comics. We're filming TV series.
Wait,
36 years later.
So that's the first time you guys met.
Right.
And how did the friendship flourish after that? How did you then become two brains fused into creating such great art?
I'm going to give you my point of view on that.
Okay, yes. Each hunter remembers it differently.
Okay, because I met this, I believe he was 14, maybe 15 years old at the time. Wise ass punk motherfucking prick. Okay.
That's me.
And, you know, I became friends with the family. Obviously, they lived right next door. And I kind of took Ben under my wing, you know, because he was a serious troublemaker. And I figured that my fucked up guidance in some way may help him. I still question whether or not that even worked, but you know, and we kind of hit it off. We became very, very close friends, even though I was in my early 20s and he was still a young teenager. You know, it was a relationship that just kind of grew out of something that, you know, he became my younger brother, so to speak, you know, and I wanted to mentor him. And, you know, he started working for me and my dad, which was really convenient because he couldn't get his ass out of fucking bed. So I would have to go over there every morning and literally grab his feet and haul him out of bed to go to work.
Oh my God.
But I always went.
Yeah, you did.
I always went, even on the days where we got halfway to work and you said, nah, dude, we ain't going to work today. We're going fishing. I'm like, I could have slept for like another 4 fucking hours, dude. You know, I'm 15. I think I was at pit parties every night.
So, and yeah, I'll give you, I'll answer the previous question too. I'll give you my first experience getting high.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how it was going to affect me. I mean, I grew up in an alcoholic family, so I know how violent things can become. You know what I mean? So what I did was I hooked up with a couple of joints and I went to the woods and I climbed a tree and I smoked both those joints.
Oh my God.
It took a couple of hours for me to be able to actually get out of the tree.
Oh my God.
I bet. Sure. Oh my gosh. It's such a precarious situation to put yourself in.
So yeah, so that was my first experience getting high.
Wow. That's great.
And I learned to socialize after that.
and share.
With the squirrel.
And share, yes.
With the squirrels.
And share.
Tree.
Right?
Yeah, with the squirrels. Yeah.
So where does the passion for comics stem from? Was there a family member? What was the first you stumbled upon? Because there's a very like specific group of people who like, you know, comic books are their thing.
Yeah, for me, like, I mean, back in the day, I used to read comics. Like I would read like Archie and stuff like that, but I really never had a passion for comics per se.
Okay.
We actually started writing the story as a book. So this is actually going to be a hardcover novel. And I believe we were 5 or 6 chapters in. Jeff let somebody in his family read it. And I think the first thing out of his mouth was, you guys are fucked up, but this would be this would be a great comic book. And I kind of looked at Jeff and I'm like, okay, you know, let's give it a shot.
Okay.
You know, let's see what we can do with this. And I mean, like he said, we were both in the construction industry. So, you know, writing comics was not really there. As far as a writing background, like Jeff said, he majored in English, but I've always had influences from other people in my family that were like poetry writers or diary keepers, but it all seemed to be a creative side of something. Jeff's a multi-Golden Award winning poet, as am I. So I can kind of think the writing just came natural for both of us.
Nice, yeah.
You know, and I would write something down. He'd look over my shoulder and be like, oh, dude, this needs that. And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. Dude, that's great. It's amazing. Don't go. Where'd you go? You know, and I'd write it into the story. But then 5 minutes later, he'd walk by and see where I was at. And then he'd walk away and come back with another idea and be like, what about this? And I'm like,
wow.
It was just,
but it really started a long time ago.
Right.
25 years ago.
26 this year.
Is it 26?
Yeah, we had known each other for about 10 years.
Yeah. And, you know, we, you know, passionate about all of the uses, you know, for cannabis and weed, marijuana, whatever you want to call it, the plant. So we started designing and making T-shirts about the uses. And I remember our first shirt was it had a picture of a tree on the front, with a bunch of facts written down into the trunk, and it said, if you want to save this, and you look at the back of the shirt, there was a big pot plant, and it said, cultivate this.
Oh, I like that. Wow.
And that was our very, very first shirt.
I still it actually had a globe. I still do too. It has a globe sitting on top of the tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that's all because of you know, I watched the world, huh?
We were high.
We were high. You know, I mean, I watch the world and I see things that you know, that should be different. You know, medicinally, building wise, you name it, and what this plant can do. You know, I mean, that was before the internet. It was before all that kind of stuff. So, you know, and then life just kind of happened, and it got put on the back burner.
There is like a psychedelic quality about the. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say there is like a psychedelic quality about the internet and all of that stuff, and that like people who discovered drugs in the past were probably like the first people who got to the internet also, right? Was there a correlation there a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I had this good friend of mine, rest his soul, who was a huge computer geek. And he taught me an awful lot. We used to take our back then, what was the first computers that were out?
Those big motherfuckers.
The 286 or I don't know, the old,
they were like
you get 4 megabytes of RAM, you know what I mean? We used to null modem those things together and kill each other in Doom.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
If it wasn't D&D.
Yeah, if it wasn't D&D, it was Doom.
Yep.
Or Nintendo 64 ice hockey, where I would take many a paddles across the wrist for kicking your ass.
Wow.
Just saying.
I'm still talking smack.
That's because he can't reach over and hit me.
Right. And then we were on vacation and we just kind of revisited it. A couple of drinks later and a couple of bones later, and the idea popped up.
That's just how it happens, right? It's just a conversation. It's just like you brainstorming with whoever it is. And like you guys seem to really love to, I mean, obviously knowing each other for so long, your collaboration with this. Because sometimes you think like if you were to create something with a close friend, maybe it doesn't match. Maybe the critique or somebody says this or whatever, and you can't really put the pieces together because it's maybe too many creative differences, but you guys had like a very similar goal.
Well, what we have in creativity is very unique. So for those that don't know about the comic book, I'll just brief real quick. Jeff and I put ourselves as the main characters in the comic book. Who does that? Nobody. Why? Because we don't know shit about comics. But as you read through the comic, the slapstick humor is us. That is how we interact with each other every day, because we were around each other so much at work. After work, I'd go over to his house, after dinner or something, I'd go over. His wife was in nursing school at the time, so he was home alone. And literally, we would game. We would play Nintendo or we would play chess. Well, that happened once when he beat me in 4 moves and I fucking quit. Well, he was on the phone, might I add. Wow. So yeah, chess was not my game. But that creativity just kind of gelled from the years of knowing each other, and
the other thing too is that, Ben does what he does and I do what I do, and we allow each other to be our own individuals, and it just fits when it comes together.
Right.
Yeah.
Ben does most of the writing. I'll peek over his shoulder and I'll throw in my little 2 cents here and there, and it'll get written in and stuff like that. But then he gives me his rough writings.
Right.
And then I edit it all down and create the chapters. And then from the chapters, the comics get pulled. Okay.
That's the process.
I don't question his writing. I try to add to it and enhance it. Some things I'll change because, that's just a little too fucked up. And the editing portion he really doesn't get involved with, but he remembers because he'll say something. Oh, you pulled that out, or you added this,
or you added this, and then we'll discuss it.
Right. But it just works.
Because you have that level of trust and the respect, and seeing that and you like you were saying, being individuals and highlighting what each of you have that is unique about yourself, and then it just coming together. What about the illustrations?
Do you want to answer that?
Well, yeah, illustrations, it's kind of funny because I can't draw a stick figure cat. Okay.
That makes
I can do architectural drawing. I'm an architectural drawer because I used to draw all my own plans and all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't work for comic books. So when the comic book idea came along, first thing we had to do was search for an artist. And we were very specific on the look that we wanted. we saw a lot of images. We saw a lot of work. There was a lot of people reaching out. And for book number 1, we settled on this young guy, Eric Yep, out of California.
Stoner.
Because we loved his style. I think he called himself a Chinese Mexican.
Yes, he did.
Okay, which was really interesting to begin with. But he did a bang up job, and that was, that's when we released the original premiere issue, which was Golden Era style, like back in the 60s. So the size was different. Everything was different. It was on newspaper print, so you could silly putty the pages just like I used to be able to. Because unlike Ben, I grew up reading a lot of comics. Because I spent my summers in Maine at a camp with no electricity, no running water, and what do you do as a kid growing up?
Yeah, I'd read comics too. See, I was busy looking at like the Sears catalog and Victoria's Secrets pages and stuff. So, just saying.
Oh my God!
Oh, what'd you think I was going to come out of the gutter for one interview? No, that ain't gonna happen.
Jesus.
Yeah, usually it's you.
So Eric did he did a fantastic job on the artwork. Yeah. Unfortunately, it didn't work out where he wanted to be involved with issue 2. So we kind of ran with a thing with, let's try and work with really no-name artists to do all the interiors.
Yeah.
And let's get a name that people would recognize to do the covers. And that's where the re-release of issue 1 came out, where it was all Eric Jep artwork in it. It was resized into today's standards. And that's Joe St. Pierre did the cover for that one. Joe St. Pierre worked for Marvel. He did all the #1 selling Spider-Man covers.
Yeah.
History.
Okay. So that was a new concept that just kind of happened.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's not a concept that we've found being thrust into these multiple industries, especially the comic industry, that was being done. That wasn't being done. It was a collaboration on the entire comic where the artist would put his portion into the cover, but the creator would also help him, design. And it was like a 4-part series. And we just took one dude and we were like, no, you do this. And we kind of just fucking threw it together and it worked,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes to show a lot of things can be reinvented. A lot of things can be like, take it to the next step. This is your evolution of it.
Well, yeah, I equate it to,
equate it.
Why, is that too big of a word for you?
No, I just was like, wow, big word. Big word, dude, you gotta remember.
I was in construction for many, many, many years, and I wanted to get out of it. The first thing I did was graphic design work. So I went to school and I learned Photoshop and I learned graphic design and page layouts and all that kind of stuff. Little did I know that 20 years later that was going to be a major portion of what I'm doing now.
Wow.
Because I do all the layout work. I do all that stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
But I went into fine furniture building.
Okay.
Because it was something that I just always wanted to do. And there's a reason why I'm saying all of this, because I showed up at this guy's shop and I said, I want a job. He goes, well, have you ever made furniture before? And I said, no. He said, well, why would I hire you? I'm like, because I know wood. I play with wood. And he just kind of looked at me.
We got that. We all heard that.
You know what I mean? He cocked his head a little bit. And I said, look, I'll, whatever you want to pay me, if you don't want to pay me, give me a month. Let me see what I can do. 6 months later, I was a shop foreman and his lead carver.
Whoa.
Okay. Which blew his mind. I just picked it up naturally. It was, whatever, a gift or whatever. And I had a meeting with him about a year into it. And he asked, how did you do this so quickly? And you don't do it like everybody else does it. He used to show me like how to carve the shells. And I did it my own damn way because I was faster at it that way.
Yep.
And I told him, I said, look, I don't have the blinders on. I wasn't taught how to do this. So I'll try new things without questioning it. I don't have those blinders.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
You don't
And
have
it's the
to limit
same thing with the comic.
Yeah.
I'm not
I've heard the
limited
story
to
before.
what I
That's
was
why I
taught.
shook my head. I was just, yeah.
Right. But I'm not, we're not limited to what we were taught because we weren't taught anything about
Right.
comics.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which has given us a shitload of freedom to do things. But go ahead. I know you wanted to ask a question, so I'll pull that back and let you. This is your show, man. I feel like I'm interviewing you guys.
No, you guys are the guests, please.
No, we want to hear you guys talk as much as possible. No, I was just gonna say that's just like a wonderful thing about reading in general is like you can just teach yourself basically anything. Like there's any type of book for free at your library. Like they give you literally all the information you need to do almost anything in the world at your library for free, as long as you get mail to your house once. You know, I have a New York City library card and I don't even live there anymore.
Right.
Sorry.
Oh no, I also wanted to know. I want to know a lot, but your thoughts on the changing times, right? With stoner culture, with the weed industry, and with how everything has become like digitalized, with making a lot of graphic art, a lot of novels, a lot of comic books, a lot of like, obviously even how like making that any story that goes to a page is processes, like I said, evolved. So I know that's a lot, that's a mouthful, but pick and choose whatever you want to, but there's, I just wanted to open the floor to, whatever.
Yeah, no, I I'm glad you brought that up because, we work with so many different people. Okay. Eric Yep, digital artist, 100%.
Yeah.
Most of our interior artists have been digital artists. Okay. There's some that are combinations, but working with people like Steve Levine from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Joe St. Pierre, these guys are old school.
Jay Moores.
These guys are old school. You know what I mean? And I'll equate that to, like I said, I do high-end woodworking, and I refuse as a professional to use digital equipment, laser cutters, CNC machines, etc. I refuse. I do everything old school by hand.
Oh, wow.
Why?
Okay, because that's the art of it. The minute you can program a computer to laser cut, laser etch, and laser do all of this kind of shit, and you can just keep repeating that process as many times as you want. To me, it takes the art out of it. It becomes a beautiful creation, don't get me wrong, but the actual artistic ability of the maker gets lost. Okay, and that's my problem with the digital world. But imagery, digital design, digital comics, digital film, all, that's got its own genre. You know what I mean? It's its own thing. But a guy at my age, I compare that to the old original hand-drawn like Disney cartoons where they used to do the plates and, and the stuff that Philo Barnhart was doing. Okay, with the Little Mermaid and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I view it in two different lights. And what we have found and what we've actually done with the comics is it's a combination of both. And even a lot of your old school artists are trying to, they'll pencil, they'll ink, then they take the ink and they bring that into the computer to digitally color. You know what I mean? So there's a cross going on there. Yeah. I don't know if that answered your question, but
multi-layered answer, because it is a very in-depth question. There is no simple, and everybody's experience and perspective on it varies. So now leaving that topic and moving on to the next, as far as the weed industry as a whole, because you guys, as far as like what you guys are smoking has changed, the quality, as far as where you're getting it from, as far as now, Jersey was just recently legalized in New York, and like a lot is happened even from the burst of the pandemic. What are your thoughts on that?
About time.
I have my very, very first thought on that is we got to keep the goddamn fucking greed out of it.
Yes.
Because that's creating a shit ton of problems.
Yeah.
Okay. That's number one.
Yeah.
In my book. You know what I mean? And I'll let Ben go on because I've been yapping and yapping.
No, man, it's fine because everything that the people are hearing is basically the same views that we share. So he just kind of went a little longer. So like your digital question, I like them both. Done. But the views are the same. So, and that's, like we said, part of 36 years of knowing somebody, that's longer than most marriages.
That is a long partnership.
So we work well together and we play off each other very well, and then that's all. Go ahead, Jeff.
So,
you're having fun.
I am having fun.
I love it.
Weed, like you said, has changed over the years. I mean, I remember as a kid, oh, Jesus. Oh my God. Oh, well, I got this bag of sticks and seeds. Let's crush this up and see what this stuff. You know what I mean? It was the old brick weed. You had to bust it with a fucking hammer. And, if you got a green bud, oh my God, that was like saved for special occasions. And it's, I like where it's gone. I think that, what I've learned actually in the last 5 years is the edibles. I like where the edibles are going. Okay. I really do. And, one of my reasonings for that is, and people that are younger than me are going to figure this out. When you get to be my age, being a smoker, it's harder to smoke now.
Yeah.
It just is. The weed is a lot stronger. Okay. And for some reason, most of the strains that I smoke these days, I have sneezing fits afterwards. And I can't figure it out. So I'm leaning more towards becoming an edible kind of a guy. It's taken a couple of years to try and, control the dosages and understand. The hard part of that is finding good, reputable people that are actually making these things accurately, professionally, okay, and something that's going to work, that's going to taste good. I don't want to get a 30 milligram edible and be tripping my socks off because they put 4 times as much in because they were stoned as fuck when they were making it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude, did I dose that one yet?
Right. Trust me.
Somebody's going to be happy.
You know what I mean? So, I think that, as we move forward with the whole cannabis industry, there's a lot of professionals now that are really trying to get their feet into it hardcore. And I think that's a good thing. Okay. The young stoners that just want to grow weed and that's great. You know what I mean? As long as you're educating yourself, you're working with qualified people, and you have an open mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you have that willingness to accept what somebody else says without saying, because the problem that I see, at least around Massachusetts, is that, well, my shit's better than yours and I make better stuff than you do and I grow better weed. Why don't you just fucking work together, man? And let's just get it all done right.
Yeah.
I do want to I do want to jump in and touch on something that Jeff said during that comment, and that's education. Education and educating people about the uses and the positive effects is fucking huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've put that is one of the main things in the writings that we do and in the comic books. It's adult humor. We call it, educating to adult humor, the positive effects of medical cannabis. And, some people say, well, what are you educating on? Everything. Zombieism. It's a whole. You know what I mean? So you might be reading issue 1 and Jeff briefly will tell you, this is how you decarb. but he's not going to tell you all the steps to it, because you know what? Educate yourself.
Yeah.
Here's the tip.
Yeah.
Go find the rest. Do your research. You know, we do things with cloning in different strains. So to me, education, and out of that whole spiel he got, I said education. So anyway,
Right.
go ahead,
Well,
Jeff.
it's the education, and one of our main goals was to, when we first started, what I really wanted to do, and Ben saw it as we went, was try to break the stigma that has been on cannabis for decades.
Yeah.
And do it in a fun way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's still really, really important to me, because I mean, you know, I grow plants on my deck during the summertime, and it's funny, when I first started growing, and I go to Maine for a week.
Yeah.
And my in-laws come over to watch the house. So I made special water buckets for them and gave them a schedule. And this is, you know, make sure that, you know, you feed these plants with this, you know, you put this much water in, and just don't do anything else, you know, because my mother-in-law likes to pluck weeds, and she likes to like do all this shit. I'm like, don't touch the fucking plant. And he looked at it. This is a you know, an 85-year-old Italian. Oh, geez, that's a marijuana. I'm like, yeah, it is. What you growing a marijuana for? I said, because it helps my back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And since then, they've lightened up a little bit. My mother-in-law will actually use CBD for her knees. You know what I mean? Because that generation, and even some of people in my generation, they just think it's a fucking drug to get people high.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more than that.
Right.
You know, recreation, that's the biggest market.
Yeah.
It is the biggest market.
Yeah.
But, you know, trying to teach people, you know, low dose, you don't have to get fucked up all the time.
Yeah.
You just don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So speaking of which, we're gonna take a quick break. I sent you guys a link. We will
you did
right back up.
So I gotta go find a new one.
Jeff. Yeah, we'll be back in a couple minutes. And while we wait for Jeff to come on, you guys can check out our other podcasts, like The Morning Shower, by going to lnhstudios.com/podcasts. And also, we are still rocking NJ Weedman's Joint, Late Night Hump, on the first, second, and third Wednesday of the month from 8 to 10 p.m. So come on out and check out that show. We have great comics coming through. Now that it's getting warm outside, we're in the backyard all the time, just smoking and toking it. And it's a great time. This week, tonight, when we release this probably, we are going to be roasting stoners, and we're also going to be showing our short film Knock. So come on out if you guys are in the Trenton area, the Central Jersey, Philly area. It's going to be the best place to be on 420. So yeah, welcome back, Ben. It's good to have.
Yeah, I'm back.
How did the television show come about?
So we were doing a Comic-Con in 2018. That's when we released the first one. And there was a gentleman there that's been in the film industry for a long time. We'll get into his name in a minute. So I said to Jeff, I said, we should give him one of the premieres, you know, blah, blah. Anyways, long story short, our wives showed up and they were taking pictures of some of the stuff, and his road manager got mad. And then I had a conversation with the road manager, who brought us all over to meet Bill Diamond. So Bill Diamond is a 3-time Emmy Award winner out of the Hudson Valley.
Oh, cool. That's right.
It worked for Jim Henson. So he basically was on the production crew for Sesame Street, The Muppets. He's been involved in multiple things over 45 years. And we got to meet him. And anyways, we showed him the comic book, and about 3 hours later, he ventured over to the table, was looking at the merchandise, and he said, I want to talk to you guys privately. So we all went in a room, and I said to him, well, hey, you know, because he was talking about entertainment value with the comic. And I said, you want to do the film? And he goes, you're not fucking ready yet. Just like that. And I went, cool. You know, because we don't know anything about these industries.
Yeah.
We're woodworkers or carpenters or general contractors by trade. And I said, okay, well, so we had the conversation, just chatted about it, and he wanted to see what we were going to do. And I said, as he stood up and walked out, I noticed he had a diamond logo on his sleeve. And I said, oh, one of these days I'm going to have my logo on something like, with yours. And he goes, you're fucking crazy. So over the course of a year and a half, we see each other at events, but he was following what we were doing. He saw the drive behind what we had, and how we took it from just being a comic book, but to a brand. With merchandising. And we some of the merchandises, we have zombie fingers that are individually hand blown. So now that falls back to, like Jeff said, that we don't like the mold. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So each finger is individually hand blown and
wow,
all American glass. So there's no two the same.
Oh my gosh.
So, but he saw all that, and I'm waiting for Jeff to come on.
Dude, well, I'm here.
Go down
Hold
down to the corner.
Oh, it's an audio podcast. Shout it out.
There you go.
I got it.
There you go.
Got it. No, you see the Zoom thing.
Old people can't hang. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. What I miss?
Not much. I was talking about Bill Diamond. She asked about how the TV series came into play. So I brought him back to the original conversation with Bill where we weren't ready and we were fucking nuts.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's about where
now we're ready,
at.
but we're still fucking nuts.
Right. And I was at the point where I said over a year and a half, we saw each other at events, blah, blah, blah. And Bill came to us during the second issue and he said, I'd like to do something with you guys. We were like, okay. He's like, I have these creatures. They're called the Ziffits. Originally, they were manufactured 20 years ago, but they never really went anywhere. But I think I can turn them into cannabis plants that come to life, a reverse story of what you're doing.
Wow.
And draw. And he goes, and draw, 3 or 4 pages per comic for you.
Wow.
So in the middle of the comic, there's the Zombie Ziffits, which is a Diamond production that's exclusive to us only.
Oh, wow.
And we developed a really, really good friendship. And yeah, I mean, go ahead. I mean,
that's wicked.
Jeff, go ahead.
So neat.
Well, the story of the Ziffits is it's just so cool that he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And,
I meant the film part of it.
Oh, the film part of it?
How we got into the film part of it. That was the question. I babbled this time.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the film part of it, like I said, I mean, I went back and forth on whether or not we wanted to actually do it. And originally we wanted to do a movie short.
Right.
Okay. And when we sat down with Bill and he was looking at it, he said, I don't want to do a movie short. He wanted to do it as a series or episodes, or as he calls it, issues, because we have issues. Okay. And that's kind of how it started. So, episode 1 was, fly by the seat of our pants.
Right.
We would build
script.
a set, no script, no nothing. We would build the set. We brought in Ashley to play Piper. She's also from Plymouth and, a local artist to do the makeup and stuff. Just to have fun, you know what I mean? And we had a ball, but I don't know how much fun Bill really had, because he'd be like, okay, all right, so what's the scene? What are you going to say? And we just walk in and we just do what we do. And it's,
literally,
but it worked. It worked just because of the way we played off of each other.
Yeah.
We literally would open the comic and go, well, that's the scene. He goes, yeah, but there's 2 lines of fucking dialogue. You need more than that. I'm like, okay, so that's the open, that's the close. Whatever we put in the middle, just leave. And like Jeff said, it was definitely a learning experience, coming from our background. So we started shooting in Connecticut. A buddy of ours down there from Wepa Farms. That's a shameless plug.
Lou Vega.
Yeah, donated an acre of cannabis plants or CBD plants for us to go in and literally fucking destroy. to like destroy them, because we had zombie, because weed smoking zombies. So we had zombies in there eating plants, and we were beating each other with them. And it was just, yeah. But we would get on set at 7 a.m. And at 1 a.m., Bill's like, all right, guys, seriously, man, we got to get this take, you know, and it starts fucking pouring out. You're like, oh, man, you know, fucking Jeff's running around in bunny slippers and shit. Yeah, it's so, but that's how we kind of got involved in it.
Okay.
We both, I think we actually fell in love with what we were doing, because not many.
Well, it was hands-on.
Yeah.
You know, we were building sets. We were helping set the lighting. I mean, you know, it's not like you're sitting, you know, these actors that sit in the trailer and just, okay, you're up. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that at all.
You were involved in more than one aspect. Yeah.
Right. What, you know, when we had to build the dispensary, for example, you know, as the set, Bill's like, okay, well, just walk around the studio and just point out things that you want. So like, okay, we'd like to use that door. You know,
and there was a story,
door, you know, and that you know, and of course Bill's like, oh well, yeah, you could use that. He goes, that door was originally made and used, and it was a Frankenstein movie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was used for Frankenstein. It's like, okay, well, that's awesome.
Wow.
You know, so different parts of the set, they actually have a history, which is really, really cool.
That's amazing.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, like when we were filming episode 2, we had to recreate a roof scene. This is one of my favorite of all times being on the studio. Now, mind you, the studio is 90,000 square feet on 10 acres.
Yes.
Right on the Hudson River. So when you walk out of his office and look, there's Bannerman Island, there's West Point.
Oh my God.
You know, so it's really, really nice. But anyway, so Bill says to me, he's got all these stages because of PRG, which is another company that he's affiliated with, but they have stages from like Queen, Madonna's last tour, you know, and they're just, he goes, grab this, throw it down. We're setting it up, and the paper flies up. I picked it up and I'm like, oh dude, it's from the damn Yankees. And he's like, yeah. And there was an X that said, you know, TN, which is Ted Nugent, with an X. So I went over and I went, yes. And he goes, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, you just don't get it because you are so desensitized from it that this is insanely cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Huh?
Go ahead. The gummy
well, you know, yeah, it did.
That is like working, like, I mean, being a part of it, being like fans of it, and also being the creators of the next thing. And also it's just like, yeah, like combining two worlds. That is really, really cool.
It was actually, you know, it's an incredible experience that, you know, I view it this way, you know, if it never goes any further than it is today, I've left a mark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, and for me, that's what it's all about.
Especially on Bill.
Right, yeah. You know,
sorry.
It's yeah, because you know, I mean, Bill's just a trip, and he's one of the most down to earth guys that you'll ever want to meet. He doesn't shut the fuck up when you get him talking, because he's going to tell you, "Oh yeah, I know that guy." You're watching TV. You're watching TV, and it's like, "Oh yeah, I worked on that commercial. Oh, that's my, you know,
I won an Emmy for that."
Right.
I won a Rondo for that. You know, like, I mean, you're talking about somebody that worked on everything that you could think of, like stage, screen, behind the scenes, the Yes Network. I mean, you guys must be familiar with the Yes Network down out of New York.
Yeah.
So he's affiliated with them. Disney. I mean, the PGA Tour. He lights all these things, and he wins awards for this shit.
Goes on. That's
right. Matter of fact, he called me today because he was driving to
Chilla.
No, he has to do Little Shop of Horrors. He's doing Little Shop, so he was bringing Audrey.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, down to the theater because they were doing a Little Shop of Horrors thing down there.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And it's those little things, and it's funny. You know, Ben used the word desensitized. You know, I was in the middle of what I'm doing, you know, well, when we first started, it's like, you know, oh, Bill's calling,
Right.
You know, you got to answer the phone. Now it's like, oh, it's Bill.
It's like, dude, he's gonna hear this and he's gonna stop calling you.
Like, I'll call him back. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, so it's just kind of funny, but you know, I've spent a lot of private and personal time with him because he's actually stayed at my house numerous times.
Yeah.
When he comes up to this area, and you know, we'll sit at my kitchen counter till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh wow.
You know,
but that's drinking whiskey.
Well, yeah, it's drinking whiskey and it's talking and
making memories, man.
It's making memories, and you know, his insights on life are very powerful to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because he asked me a question once, what is success? You know, and how do you achieve success? And I didn't really know how to answer that question because everybody thinks success, you know, you make a lot of money or you get famous or something you do just takes off.
That is not success.
And he looked at me and he looked around my house, looked at my wife. I've been married 35 years now. And he said, you're already successful. That's success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that really, you know, that really meant something to me. And that's how Bill lives his life. All Bill wants to do with us is bring us forward to the best of his ability.
Right.
Without asking for anything really in return.
No, I was going to add to that earlier statement and say, you know, not only were we, Jeff and I and our co-star and our makeup artist allowed to do this, but we had sponsors. We brought sponsors in from the cannabis industry. And part of it was they were able to come down to the studio. They got a full tour of the studio. They saw Big Bird and Sully and took all these fucking pictures. But then we put them hands-on building sets with a 3-time Emmy Award winner. And then we killed them in the TV series. So
no, not all of them. We saved a couple of them.
Well, because they had the most money. We want them to come back. So, but Bill, the generosity of him, he opened the door. He took time out of his day to literally walk multiple tours through the studio for our friends, family, guests, and that you don't find that. That just doesn't happen. You know, on the West Coast, production stuff is, you know, $600 an hour for a room. That's what you get. Just be done. You don't have, they don't take you, you know, they don't take that time to show you the ins and outs of everything that is involved.
Yeah, the time, the care that like, and you were saying earlier, your brand, like you two, like, because it is so many people are creating now. Everyone's a producer doing their own thing now. It's everything, you know, because people can.
If you got an iPhone, you can produce.
You know, exactly. You can translate, edit it, do what your entire process, technically your own way and be based anywhere. But it's like, what is it that is unique to you, your brand, your both of you, your banter with each other, how it was translated into your writing, like all of that you've discussed is like, oh, okay, that's the thing. It's just like, oh, why am I watching? What is this going to leave? You know, what am I going to leave with and still think about after this conversation, or still think about and like, you know, your outlook on life, your personalities also, which I think is refreshing and reassuring, because I'm like, you know, as two are young in the game, but it is for young people, we're always like, oh, we got to get to the next thing. Oh, we got to rush. We got to do this. Oh, what about this? Oh, blah, 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 blah. Instead of like taking a beat and being in the present and being like, oh yeah, we do it because we love it. But it's like, it gets just so competitive. It gets like, you think when you're young, you have to be at this certain level, at that bar. This isn't enough. The success thing, whatever, and you think like, oh, this won't qualify, blah, 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 all this nonstop worrying in your head. And then we see guys like you, and we're just like, oh man, they're just like having the time of their lives.
Well, Jeff and I have always said this from day one when we started this. have fun. Don't be afraid to ask somebody something and have fun. And by doing that, we've been able to work with great artists.
Right.
Jeff mentioned Philo Barnhart earlier. He's a second generation Disney legend that was one of the creators of The Little Mermaid. But he worked on the original Star Trek for Disney. He worked for Hanna-Barbera. So we're talking like old school, hands-on type stuff. Upwards of, as you know, I'm sure Steve told you in the conversation, we do a live broadcast / podcast show as well. Every Wednesday night, we're live. We broadcast 12 platforms worldwide, and then rip down to 19 podcasting platforms worldwide.
Nice. What's the where's the best place to find that, and what's the title of that for people at home?
It's still Toking With, every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can find it on Facebook, multiple Facebook channels, multiple YouTube channels. You can go to Live 365 to Dead Dork Radio and listen to it live, which is a radio station that we actually are part owners of.
Right. And they're all archived on our website as well.
Yep. Every episode's archived on the website, stilltoking.com, IMDb. So we're literally just about everywhere with the live shows.
Right.
And where I was going is because of everything that we've been able to achieve and not being afraid to ask people, we've had some amazing guests. I don't know if you saw any of our list, but we got to interview Tommy Chong. You know what I mean?
Nice. Yeah, he's a legend for sure.
Yeah, I mean, on the cannabis side of things, but we've also interviewed great actors and actresses like Dee Wallace from Cujo and E.T., you know, Anson Williams from Happy Days.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And even some of more today's presents, like we have Bei Ling coming on this
Wednesday, yeah.
You know, from Crank High Voltage with Jason Statham, but she's doing a new show with Tom Sizemore. So you just ask people, you know what I mean?
Right,
and have fun.
Right. Well, and that goes back to, you know, I remember when we first released the re-release of issue 1.
Yeah.
Somebody that took us under their wing, the very first Comic-Con that we ever did. Once that book came out, Johnny C came up to us and asked us, how the hell did you get Joe St. Pierre to do your cover?
Yep.
And we looked at him and we said, we asked him. What's he going to say? No?
Right?
Yeah, that is right. That is like the worst that can happen.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that changed his whole viewpoint.
Yeah, you don't see,
what I mean?
People see it as like, oh, impossible. Like, how could I do that? How? And you're just like,
right.
You do it. There's no.
We hold nobody on a pedestal.
Nope.
Everybody is on the even playing field.
Yep.
Nobody's better than anybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I don't care if you're Bill Diamond and you're a 3 working on 4-time Emmy, or if you're Dee Wallace, if you're, I don't care who you are. You know what I mean? You're no better than anybody else.
Yeah.
And I live my life like that.
Well, yeah, we both do. You know,
well, with the exception of my wife, if I want to survive the next year.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, and that brings up the point of hearing the word no. I mean, we're both married, so, you know, you hear no a lot. I'm just going to say, you know, so you get used to it
at night.
Yeah. Or in the morning. You know, sometimes at lunch, but, you know, that's only on a good day.
You know, but, you know, I mean, my life, you know, I'm blessed in a couple of ways because, you know, meeting Ben.
That wasn't a blessing. Well, that was a curse.
No, well, at the beginning it was, but to have that long-standing relationship is rare. It's very, very rare. You know, I married my high school sweetheart. And we've been together over 40 years.
Wow.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
And again, extremely rare. So for all you people out there, when you find somebody that you click with, just keep on clicking. You're going to fight. You're going to have problems. You're going to argue. You're going to, you know what I mean? You're going to go through good times, tough times, bad times, and every which way but loose. But the trick is to allow each individual to be who they are and appreciate them for that.
Wow.
We've gotten such good
I need a tissue.
advice.
Yeah, no, I'm like tearing up a little
and
bit. The weed's making me a little weepy.
Well, it's also it is great to hear, and I mean, we're in a relationship together, Jordan and I, and we're in a business together, and we did not plan, like, you don't expect that things will go a certain way, but we just, like, you know, just enjoy working together. It's just like the next thing, you don't even realize it. We're having conversations where, like, the business and the creative art just meshes into the relationship, because it's just like, oh, this is just what we love discussing. Or it's like, you know, we're having dinner and it's like, oh, what if we did this cool thing? Oh, I have an idea for blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, great. And it's just like, you know, adding on, yes-anding each other. I mean, we started doing improv together way back in the beginning. So yeah, it is cool. Literally yes-anding each other in real life and doing, you know, like, and it, you know, which is,
well,
so-
you know, the other thing too is, you know, I learned a long time ago, and it's a cliche, but it takes two to fight. Okay. So when I come home and I'm having a bad day and I go off the fucking deep end, rah, 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 my wife just sits there. She lets me get it all out. And then when I'm all done, she'll say, do you feel better? She doesn't engage.
That's
because it's not about her.
Yeah. It's about
you know what I mean?
It's all about you, Jeff. Yep.
Well, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
Yes,
No,
yes.
that is such great. That is really
very
wisdom.
true. That is very helpful to hear. Yeah, no, that is because
and that thing you said about success is also, it's like that is just such wisdom, and I think a lot of people overlook that, especially like our generation is so obsessed with like getting one step higher, getting what, like $10,000 more, $10,000, like how can we get more? Like
you can't look at it like that.
Yeah,
you just can't look at it like that. You know, I mean, you know, Ben, what 2 years ago now? Was it 2 years? Yeah, must be. When he approached me and said, hey, let's do a live show. And I looked at it and said, no, absolutely fucking not.
Oh, you immediately dismissed it.
I just immediately dismissed it. I'm like, I don't want to fucking do that. You know what I mean? That's not me. It's not what I want to do. And he talked me into doing a couple because we were trying to help Philo at the time.
Right.
Okay. Philo, it was the 40th anniversary of Star Trek. It was the 30th anniversary of Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
He had done a bunch of podcasts. Nobody was pushing it out there. So we decided to, you know, we contacted Leo from the Dorkening and we said, you know, can we put together a little show and do this? And you know, me and Ben will co-host it. That's just kind of how it started. And next thing I know, it's fucking 2 years later and here we are still doing these live shows every Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some days it's tough because, you know, it's really not.
You guys know. It's all about the guest. It's really all about the guest. Because if the guest is just you're going to fall asleep 10 minutes in,
you know,
or you're going to be messaging each other like, fuck, we got 40 minutes left.
You know, but, you know, what I had to do was, you know, I had to play it my way. Okay, so I had to kind of develop I say I developed a character, but I really didn't. It's really me, but it's the rough me.
It's the
and my job on the show is to embarrass or bring up things that they forgot about, the guests forgot about. You know what I mean? When we had what the hell's the dude's name from Lost Boys, Ben? What was his name?
The sax player.
Yeah, the sax
okay,
player.
put me on the spot now because I can't remember.
I can't remember his name.
I'm high.
He was the big buff guy. I don't know if you remember the movie The Lost Boys.
Okay.
The vampire movie.
We'll put that in the bio below.
Right. But anyway, you know, so he was on, you know, bodybuilder, the whole 9 yards. And just out of the blue, I looked at him and I said, you keep playing that fucking sax, I'm going to stuff it up your ass on a live show.
Yep.
You You know what I mean? And he basically looked at me, he laughed, he thought for a second, he said, if I ever find you and see you, I'm going to beat you to death with it.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? But it was all in fun. And it's the way that you have to present yourself. You know what I mean? You have to present yourself properly. And my job on the show is to get the guests to completely relax.
Yeah. And to be a Massachusetts
you know what I mean?
guy, you're always kind of roasting, you know?
Well, yeah, that's what we do. You know what I mean? And I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't give a fuck what you think. I just don't.
I think we proved that numerous times over the years. You know,
it helps though with doing like, I mean, most of our material is comedy, but it's like that is the thing that has people ease into it, relax into it. We throw a challenge in here. The whole thing is you're high. We do just in audio, so it's not visual, so people don't have to be anxious about their appearance or when they're high and do whatever. Like
Gandalf and Bilbo, by the way.
Oh, stop, dude. Just stop. Stop right there. Put the fucking brakes on, Jeff. Go ahead.
The comedy of it, the just like yeah, I don't know. It is just not like not taking stuff so seriously. That's too, because like it's like we're making all this up. Like we're doing what, art, creative art, and people are actually out like being surgeons and saving lives and doing, and we are like, people during the pandemic looked to artists because they're like, oh, this is my escape. Like I have to watch something, listen to something, read something. I have to, like, I'm too trapped in my house right now. But it is like a, you know, you just get to a point where you're just like, yeah, why am I so serious about this? Like all of it should be light, all of it, because it's silly. It's just bullshit. None of it.
I mean, you know, it's funny because for the majority of guests, we go backstage for about 10 minutes before we go live. And I make it a point to let them know that I will probably say something that's going to piss you off.
You give them a warning.
Offend you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not meant in any disrespect at all. You know what I mean? And I tell them flat out, if it happens, just give it back, because that's what I expect.
Yep. Yep. That's why we run the 18+ disclaimer at the beginning of every show, folks. Every show.
But yeah, that Gandalf story was with Dee, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Wasn't that with Dee Wallace?
No, I don't remember who it was with, but you fucking horrified him. Yeah, let's not go there because I don't want to like ruin Gandalf for everyone.
Oh no, they're gonna have to go watch the episodes to find out what Gandalf's all about.
Yeah, we'll put links below.
Right.
Yeah, before we close out, sorry, was there last question you had? If there's anything you want to leave the listeners, any last things you want to say, and also any of your personal plugs, your social media, where, I mean, I know you already plugged the website and all that other info for where they can find you guys and your content. But yeah, I mean, anything you want to say before we close out?
Yeah, what I do want to say is follow us, because you definitely want to come see us when we're out at events. Okay.
Yeah.
This coming weekend, we will be in Bangor at the Bangor Comic-Con, Bangor, Maine.
Nice.
We're working on some stuff in between for the summer, but we got a couple of big shows happening in Maryland at the Maryland Pop and Horror Con.
At the end of August.
Last weekend of August.
Yep.
And then we have the THC Tidewater Horror Convention 2 weeks later in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
And
okay, so we'll be down in that area, you know, in the fall.
Okay.
Right.
Early fall.
Not only will we be in that area, but we will be running exclusive live media of all the panels. So if you can't make it down there, definitely watch us, because we'll be going live all weekend with all the panelists. Get your questions in that way. It's a great way to do it. You know, something else new that we're bringing to the table with a media package.
Yep. Yeah, we get to sit down and interview all of the celebrity guests, which is just incredibly awesome.
Yeah.
That does sound pretty fun. Definitely let us know if you're in New Jersey and trying to do some shows. We'll definitely find
you know.
Yeah.
When we film in Cornwall, New York.
Oh wow, my dad used to teach in Cornwall.
Yeah, so it's only about an hour from you, where you know, the Jersey area.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sweet.
You know.
All right.
This has been great. Thank you guys so much for coming onto the show.
Hey, anytime.
I appreciate you having us. It's been fun. And I behaved myself.
Dude, did you?
In a session with Mary Jane. I just had to officially close us out.
Oh, okay, I got you. I do want to say something to Jeff though, and I don't remember. Oh, first, this is our first interview ever, where nobody asked us about the trademark issues that we had with AMC and The Walking Dead.
Oh.
But now you'll have to wait and come back for part 3.
Oh my God, we have to be continued.
At another time.
All right.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.